Hello, everyone. It's your favorite people at HappyTec because we're just so happy about tech and we're so happy to see you talking about tech. And Fi's here too. So, today, let me put this in here. Ba-ba-da-boo-boo-boo. Ba-ba-da-boo. Today, I just heard myself say today. That was disturbing. I didn't want that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a fascinating article that Fi found, if I can find it again. Oh, it's a Substack post, actually. We love Substack posts, don't we? AI detection tools are a scam. So there's a couple really interesting things about this. And let me see if I can actually share this with y'all. I want to grab this. I want to open this up here. See, I don't normally share the things. Can I share? Okay, let's share this particular window. Detection, how to AI. Is this the one? That's the wrong one. This is the one. Okay, I think, let me just make sure that this still works. Wow, it didn't work at all. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying something new here, so I want to see. There we go. Let's pull this down here. And where is my video capture and screen share is?
I feel like we should just always start the stream.
Yeah, with trying to figure out our tech.
No, with like the screen share like preloaded at the bottom.
That would not be a terrible idea. Okay, why? Why is this? Why do I have too many? Oh my God. Okay, I was trying like a fancy freaking thing, but now suddenly I have. Oh, that's why, because this is set up for you to screen share, not me. I can't screen share on this because I'm the one recording. That's
Okay, I
exciting.
can screen share. What do you want me to screen share?
Okay, can you screen share that other link? What am I looking
The
at now?
Substack link?
Yes.
All right, let me
This.
open it
What
up.
is this? Okay, now
Oh yeah,
everything
this
is gone
I have
away.
been reading Ruben's stuff.
There we go.
Um, and it's been really interesting to kind of, just read what other people are saying, whether they are prompt engineers or whether they actually work on LLMs or they just are kind of doing their own thing. And actually, his company is just like fully focused on AI. So he's very involved in the scene. Can you see all of this, or am I
Yeah,
doing the right thing?
I can see how to AI and then detect. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. So he writes a lot of different things, and as you can tell, it's like pretty active. Like people comment, and he has a pretty active community. And but it is paywall, and I haven't paid for it. So is this you want to let me know when to scroll, or do you want me to talk about it, or how do you want to do it? Because right now I only see me on the
Mm.
live. I don't see you at all. Is there a way to get both of us and the screen share, or is it just gonna be me? Because I'd rather have you be on here and talking about it.
Yeah, let me see. And I should have. Okay, I think that will work. Let me just try this. There we go. How's that look?
I just see the screen share and you.
That's what you wanted, right?
Oh yeah, sure. I thought, is
Mm.
there a way to get both of us and the screen share, or just you?
Well, so let's say we have both of us here. Where would where would you want the screen share to be?
On top, I guess, and then you and I both on the bottom. Okay, maybe it's too complicated for today. Let's just
Maybe.
go with you and then talking about this. Yeah, and I can scroll when you need me
Yeah, I
to.
don't think I can do that.
No worries.
Okay, so you read a text and you just know it's written by ChatGPT. Delve, tapestry, realm. I'm guessing those are meant to be keywords that ChatGPT uses. Also, overusing expressions like it's not obvious thing, it's other thing. If you can, I can detect it clearly, an AI bot can detect AI text, right? Now, this has been really, and I'm pontificating at this point. This has been a really interesting thing because ever since people said, "Hey, this is AI," of course, everyone wants to be able to detect if something is AI, and it has gotten harder. And they kind of go into this a little bit, but the reason it is so freaking hard to detect if something is written by AI is because AI is trained on human speech. It is basically a pattern recognizer, and it's trained on our speech and how we write. So, um, it's no complex. By the end of this newsletter, you will master the truth about AI detection bots, how to forever avoid sounding like an AI. That one's the important part. And the copy and paste prompt to edit any text or remove its AI feel. So, AI detection bot is a scam. You don't believe me? Read this from one of the creators of ChatGPT. You will never be able to detect the use of AI in homework, full stop. All detectors of AI, IMO, don't really work, can be defeated in various ways, and are in principle doomed to fail. You have to assume that any work done outside of classrooms has used AI. As someone who was an instructor, I actually had students come up to me and they say, "Hey, teacher, can I use an AI to do this? Right? Can I use AI to generate this code?" And I said, "Go for it." And they were like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, one, I can't, unless you really screw it up, we won't be able to tell. Two, the only thing I'd ask you is make sure you understand what it's doing, because you're only hurting yourself. Like, you could get through this class and get an A and graduate, and I don't care. If you haven't learned because you used AI, that's on you, right?" I know, like, elementary school, it needs to be a little bit more rigorous, but I also feel like, who is the person saying this, right? One of the founders of OpenAI. I feel like they may have a bias here. I don't think it is currently possible to detect the use of AI. I don't know if I would be willing to say it'll never be possible. Mostly because I feel like 10 years from now, you could just know something is AI generated by it exists. But I really think that right now it's really hard to detect this stuff. The thing is, and this goes a little bit into AI fundamentals, you cannot right now train an AI on AI generated content. If you take like, we get an AI, right? We feed a bunch of images into it and it knows how to create those images. If you take a bunch of AI generated images and use that to train an AI, it starts hallucinating wildly, like crazy bad. The output just goes all over the place, which means that on some level, there is a difference between AI generated content and non AI generated content. Because very clearly, if you train an AI on only AI generated content, it will produce absolute garbage instead of what it was actually trained on, which means there is something. There is something. We just don't know what it is. Now, maybe they get better at that. And honestly, if we make it so that AI can learn from AI generated content, then that's it. Like, it's over. There's no need for humans at all anymore. But I don't think we will. And I think that's because there is something very subtly different, some specific pattern about AI generated content that we just don't know how to read or understand. And we should be able to detect that. Eventually, we don't even know what it is right now, but as soon as they figure out what it is, I think they'll be able to detect it. That's the other thing, though, right? But what about these AI detectors? They're making tons of money. GPT-0, they're projecting to earn over 20 million in 2025. The fact that there are AI detectors that claim to be AI detectors is actually hurts ChatGPT's business model. What ChatGPT's business model actually is still not completely clear to me, unless it's just hemorrhage money. To be fair, ChatGPT is doing an amazing thing, and I feel like as an actual nonprofit, they're doing an excellent thing, right? They are providing people with mostly free, like, I don't pay for ChatGPT, Fi does, a mostly free service that is extremely expensive for them to run. I think that is amazing. But also, they're also trying to go to a, like, profit model, and I'm not totally sure that's going to work for them. Anyway, the fact that there could be AI detectors, GPT-0, that make money probably irritates them. You can't see your, okay. It probably irritates them, right? It probably really bothers them that this is happening, and they're like, "Hey, One, we should be making that money. And I guarantee you, as soon as OpenAI learns how to detect AI generated stuff, they're going to come out with a detector. That's just how it's going to work. There's too much money in that. But I think really like they want to be the ones to corner that market. That's just my opinion on it, right? And can you scroll down a little bit? All right. Here's what an AI detector thinks of the Bible. 88.2% made by ChatGPT. This is a disingenuous comparison. You wanna know why? What do you think ChatGPT was trained on? I've heard other people saying, oh, ha 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 ha, Pride and Prejudice. It said it was 98% ChatGPT. You know why? Because GPTs put out text that looks like the Bible. Because they were trained on things like the Bible. It's a very famous book. Any famous book that is at all available to train these things, they have trained on it. Which means that, yes, of course, this text looks like it was generated by AI because, again, like I said in the beginning, AI is designed to pattern match extremely well. And if you give it these patterns, it will be able to match them. So
Hey,
basically,
Rob,
yeah,
can you say all of that again, but like just a little bit
less excited.
like differently? But I feel like it's really, really important. And if you could
All right.
just take that one more time, but also add in the implications of this and a practical step that people can take. Because right now this is really good information that you're sharing, but practically for the average user, they don't understand what to do with this information and how they can put it into use in their daily life. Thank you.
Well, this is for the content, folks. This is for a reel. You like this? You should see our reels. Our reels are great. Find them on Instagram, I think. So, here's what an AI detector thinks of the Bible. 88.2% made by ChatGPT. This is also the case with famous novels like Pride and Prejudice, Harry Potter, the Magna Carta, which is not a famous novel, but it's a famous thing, Beowulf, okay? Anything that people know about, it's going to be in the corpus or body of text that GPTs are trained on, okay? Now, what I mean by that is when you're training an LLM, you give it all the text, and AI is really, really good at finding patterns. And when you ask for something, it comes up with the pattern that it thinks is what you're looking for. So, of course, it's going to be able to replicate the Bible because it was trained on the Bible. Now, why does this matter to you? It means if you have content that you're making yourself, like maybe you've put up a bunch of videos on YouTube, that sort of thing, you can actually go into ChatGPT and create your own mini GPT. Now what that does is you give it, it takes all the stuff that ChatGPT is already trained on, all the millions and billions of words, and you give it all of your transcripts. And it looks through those transcripts, and then it can put out text that sounds like you. Some of you might be horrified by this. Totally okay. Don't use it. Some of you are getting excited though, because what this means is if you've got people coming and asking you questions all the time that you're saying, oh my God, I know I answered this in a video somewhere, or I answer this question 15 times a day, that sort of thing, or you just want like a lower tier offering, right? You can actually go and tell them, hey, I have created this GPT, and you can go and ask it questions and it knows everything I know. That's probably not gonna be exactly true, because not everything you know is in the video, but you can do that for them. You can put that in there and they can actually use that. And this is how it works. Because when someone asks a question that sounds like a question you've answered in your videos, or knowledge that you have in your videos and those transcripts, the GPT will be able to pattern match off of your transcript and figure out what you would have said and respond to the user. Just like they say here, they learn what AI text looks like, and that's what human text looks like, right? Same thing. AI text is based on us. There is not really a thing as AI text, even the M dashes. Why do you think AI loves M dashes so much? Because M dashes are everywhere in open source literature. Not open source, what do they call it? Common domain. Literature that's available to the
Hey,
public.
can you explain oh, do you mean public domain
Public domain.
literature?
Yeah,
Yeah, can you just start that whole thing again about the public domain, just like redo
sure.
that thing?
So a lot of when they were trying to come up with these big blocks of text for AI, the only rule really that they gave themselves, these LLM companies, was the more we have, the better. They don't actually really care what it was or what it said at that point. They just needed something. And I'm actually going to try. Ooh, there we go. I need to plug in. Cool, perfect. Okay. Sorry, I just need to plug in my power because my laptop was starting to lose power. Anyway, when they were trying to come up with all this text, the first thing they did was they went to public domain, right? And they hoovered up everything. Project Gutenberg, I think it was Project Gutenberg. There's two Gutenberg, right? Gutenberg is the Gutenberg typesetting system, which took the publishing world by storm back in the 1800s, 1700s, long time ago. Google actually had a very similar thing that they called Project Gutenberg, which was them essentially. Oh my God, I just did something I didn't want to do. Oh, and it didn't screw up the stream. That's awesome. Or, well, it hasn't yet. Anyway, screwed up a little bit. So, Project Gutenberg was the thing that Google came up with. What has happened now? Oh my God. Now the. Hey, hold on a second. Now the screen share is screwed up. There we go. Okay, we'll just start that over again. So way back in the day, there was a Gutenberg printing press, and that was a great thing. Okay, great printing press. It took the publishing world by storm. Now there were two separate technical projects, not back in the 1800s, but like in the 2000s. WordPress has their Gutenberg editor, and that's what they call their new kind of blocks. Well, not I guess it's not new. It's been out for like 5 years now, but that's what they call their editor. Google also had Project Gutenberg, which basically was them trying to digitize books. And they would actually have a machine that it would take the page, scan it, do optical character recognition, OCR, on it, and figure out what the words actually were. Then it would scan the next page and they would very gently turn the page because some of these books were extremely old. And so they were actually trying to, according to them, they were trying to preserve books online. They got sued by libraries and by publishers because a lot of the books that they digitized were actually not public domain books. But Project Gutenberg really helped out AI because all of these books now were in digital format, right? If you pick up a book from like the 1800s and you look at it and you read it, that book, unless it's a pretty popular book, probably does not exist in digital form. Well, maybe it does now because of Gutenberg, but before then it probably didn't, which means it's useless to an AI. AI needs text. It needs text to be in a format that it can digitize because it doesn't actually read words the way we do. It reads it reads tokens like we covered last time. So basically,
Can you share about tokens again?
yeah, so essentially tokens, like looking at the sentence, but we can still tackle the AI field of copies. When the AI reads that sentence, it's not actually reading every single letter. The reason for this is because there's only like 100, maybe 200 special like characters in the English language. I know there's not actually that many, but it has to do with periods and question marks and quotations and all that stuff as well, right? And upper and lowercase. So there's a couple hundred, maybe most. So that's not a lot, actually. That's really not a lot to train an AI on. And also, it's kind of, if an AI had to put out its response letter by letter, it'd be kind of expensive. So what they do instead is they'll break it up into multiple chunks of words. So for example, but might become B and UT. Then there's a space, and then we might be its own token. Why? Because we shows up at the beginning of welcome. It shows up at the beginning of wheel. No, that's WH. WH would be another token. You can tell I can't spell. Week is WE. So that one token can now handle a bunch of different cases, and it's 2 letters, which means that's one less operation the AI has to perform. So a lot of tokens are 2 or 3 or even more letters long, just where there's commonalities. And the AI itself figures out how to tokenize these things in a lot of cases. So when you see a sentence and the AI sees that sentence, it's actually broken it up, not by letter like we would do, but by commonality. And so that's something that it figures out how to do. It's figured out how to do. And that kind of means that AI speaks almost more phonetically in a way, except a lot of the tokens that they put out don't have to be actual phonetic sounds that are actually pronounceable. But that's kind of how it thinks. It thinks in terms of these tokens, and that's its letters. And so that's why, because AI doesn't need, it's not a problem it has to remember, right? There's, what, 24 letters in the English alphabet and punctuation? I want to say it's 24. AI can remember easily 10,000 tokens. It's not a problem for it. In fact, that actually might make the system work faster because it has to run fewer cycles, right? It doesn't mind. Like, that's just a couple extra computations as it goes through each cycle, but if it can shave off 1 or 2 cycles, that's a huge time savings. But yeah, when it tokenizes all this text, it needs huge corpuses of text. And every public domain book became part of those corpuses. Why? Because they can legally use it. Anyone can use a public domain work. Mickey Mouse at this point is Mickey Mouse in public domain? Winnie the Pooh is in public domain. I know that. Mickey Mouse might not have been because Disney did some clever stuff with copyright law. But Winnie the Pooh's in public domain, which means the original Winnie the Pooh books could be legally used to train an AI. You probably would get Disney trying to sue you anyway, but you technically could do it. Where they went wrong then is they actually looked at this and they said, well, gosh, there's just really not a lot of data here. And you might be saying, oh my God, the sum total of all open copyright free work is not enough. No, it wasn't. The reason there was such a big jump from GPT-2 to GPT-3 to 4 was because they increased that corpus of text so much at that point. It just got huge. And the more text you can feed to the AI, the better its responses get. If I give an AI 2 sentences, hello, how are you, and hello, nice weather, it's going to know how to respond to exactly one thing. If I put hello, it's going to give me one of those 2 sentences. That's it. That's all it can do. If I give it nothing but 18th century manuscripts written by Charles Dickens, it's going to sound exactly like a really broken, garbled Charles Dickens. Mostly because Charles Dickens' books are not conversational in any way. They have people talking to each other, but it's not clear that that's a conversation. And basically, if you gave it a prompt, it would start quoting a piece of what sounds like a Charles Dickens novel. That's not very helpful either. Because if I started asking about investment banking, it wouldn't have a clue what I was talking about. If I asked it about poor orphans and gruel, it probably would have a lot to say. But that's not super useful to most corporations these days. They don't really care about children and gruel. They leave that up to nonprofits to deal with. So what they did is then they said, well, great. You know what people have been doing lately is all of their books they've been putting out as ebooks. We don't have to digitize them. They digitized it for us. And they took all those ebooks and they threw them all into that corpus of text. That's what got them in trouble because they did not have permission to do that. They scoured the internet and they scoured every single blog. They did this automatically. Every single blog post, every single news website, every single cooking recipe, every single Facebook comment they could get their hands on, Twitter feeds, Reddit posts, everything they could, and they put it all into that corpus of text. And this is why it's so expensive to train AI, because they probably have possibly 1 trillion words in that corpus of text at this point. I don't even know exactly how many, but it's a lot. It takes a long time to train. Every training cycle probably takes them maybe a couple hours, but then they have to do each training cycle maybe 1,000,000 times. So you can see this is why they need supercomputers and they need a lot of GPUs so they can do it very quickly. Anyway, that all to say, if you're wondering why AI needed to use non-public domain text, this is why, because they just didn't have enough words without it. And they can't make up words. The AI can't make up words because, as I said earlier, AI can't learn from AI data. Anyway, this is kind of interesting. The signs of AI writing. There's a lot of stuff to just how to avoid sounding like an AI. Fun fact, AI like ChatGPT is actually trained with what we call adversarial gain. And what that means is that, or human assisted adversarial, the human will give a prompt. The AI will give the response, and the human will say whether they like it or not. You may have run this in ChatGPT where it says, hey, here's two versions, which one do you like more? You're participating in that. Well, they had a lot of people for whom English is a second language doing this initially to make sure this was all very good. So that's why a lot of AI sounds very formal, because the people that were training it knew formal English. And so they said, yes, this one looks better because that's the one they understood better. That makes perfect sense, right? That's how AI works. It is trained to do this. Anyway, padding sentences. AI loves padding sentences, right? The thing that I can you scroll up a little bit? The thing that I want to say about this is like, everything is pivotal, every detail underscores, every trend continues to captivate audiences worldwide. No one talks like this. That's not true. People do talk like this. You know, talks like this? Corporates and students writing essays where they have a word maximum they have to go to. I have written phrases like this where it's just a bunch of, like, I added in 15 words that didn't need to be there because I was just trying to hit a page limit. I needed 4 pages written, right? And also, if you are ever writing a speech for someone who's going up on stage in front of a bunch of corporates, continues to captivate audiences worldwide, sounds like a great sentence to me. Where they have, here's what to cut. Can you scroll down a little bit? All of this stuff, I have heard all of this stuff. I have written some of this stuff. It is important to remember that. I've written that in a technical document. It is important to remember that when we are handling the database table in this particular way, yeah, they exist between us. The model is trained to sound smart. Smart writing is specific. Exactly. That's why we read it, right? Phrases add zero information. I disagree with that, honestly. If I had just put in that technical document, the database may explode if we do this. That's kind of jarring. If I say it's important to remember, now people are looking at it and saying, oh, I better pay attention to this. So ChatGPT co-opted a lot of our buzzwords and our language, okay? So like, this development highlights the ongoing evolution of the digital landscape and underscores the importance of adaptability in modern business. That sounds like a product brief. This changes how small teams compete. They can move faster now. I promise you, I've written stuff like that when I worked at Slack, and I was told you need to fluff this up a little bit. The AI version is actually what most businesses want. So I don't think it's a problem that, yeah, one sounds like a press release. Exactly that. Exactly that. This is what they want AI to do. And it actually is great for us because, as you can see here, there are ways to make your work sound like it's not from AI. All these words, underscore, pivotal, showcase, enduring. I've written actually a lot of these in text. I like words, maybe, you know? AI loves listing 3 things. That's true. From X to Y. I love the from X to Y one because it basically says it's the AI equivalent for I have nothing specific to say, so I'll stay vague. Honestly, I don't agree with that. All right, let's stop scrolling for a minute. I don't agree with that because AI doesn't know about vagary. That's not a concept it has. Why does AI say things like from ancient traditions to modern innovations? Because a lot of the text it was trained on did that. We're looking at this stuff saying, oh my God, it sounds so fake. Where do you think it learned this? AI doesn't make up patterns out of thin air. It's not capable of doing that. This is how we write. They have taken, the whole news has gotten to this point where we're trying all these buzzword articles, right? We're trying to get clickbait. We're trying to, I have nothing specific to say, so I'll stay vague. That's not the AI equivalent for it. That's the human equivalent for it. That's why that's why AI does this. It learned it from us. Everything it knows, it learned from us. It doesn't make up stuff. So anyway, Yeah, AI writes like a metronome because that's what it needs to do. I would say it says maybe, like use maybe and sometimes unsurety. Don't do that. If you're writing a blog post, if you're writing it professionally, don't use maybe or sometimes or uncertainty in there unless you actually are saying sometimes this happens. Like, yeah. Also, AI can't help itself. That's because the people that trained the AI wanted the AI to tell them what it was going to do before it did it so they could figure out why it was doing certain things. So that actually is really funny to me. I don't like also what it says about conclusions. If you've made your point, stop writing. You don't need to summarize what someone just read 2 paragraphs ago. 2 points on that. One, they didn't read it. That's why we have conclusions, is most people don't read the damn thing. They just scroll all the way to the bottom and look at your conclusion. Secondly, conclusions are great. Did you learn nothing from English class in college? You need a summary. That's totally fine. I will agree that AI does them a little weird. AI overfits your
So
prompt. What's that?
practically, what are people supposed to do with what you're sharing? Like, about your version of how to write and sound like a human. What's something that they can practically do if you could summarize it into a few sentences for us, like how to kind of make it sound more natural and not so formal?
Practically, AI sounds like every human mashed together. That's what it's designed to do. If you want to avoid your work looking like AI, know what your voice is because you don't sound like the average human. The average human sounds average, and in fact, nobody actually sounds like that. That's how we can tell it's AI. We can't tell a lot of times why, right? But yeah, please to chat, saying please to ChatGPT does not help. Find your voice, write with that voice, and be distinctive to that voice, and you will stand out. If you want ChatGPT to write with your voice, you need to tell it what your voice is, which means you need to know what it is. One thing I have found very helpful is I will start writing something, right? Or I will take another piece of writing that I already wrote and I will say, in the style of this writing, write something about this, right? Or you can actually start writing, write a couple of paragraphs, and then say, please continue this text for another 4 or 5 paragraphs in the same voice. It's pretty good at that because then it has a pattern to go off of. It needs patterns. And if you don't give it one, it's just going to fall back to what it was trained on. So if you can give it a pattern of your own writing, it will do a much better job of emulating you. And yeah, AI
That
writes
sounds
like
great.
someone
Thank
afraid
you.
to commit.
Thank
That's
you. That's
also very
very
true.
helpful. I just want to say, like, he is writing specifically for people who are, either working or have their own businesses. And he does a lot of consulting around that front. So he's not really going and helping, a lot of students with a little with help with what they need. It is more, programmed towards the businesses. And yeah, that's kind of what he's up to. So yeah, it makes sense that he's not really looking at whether it sounds like an essay or not. He's trying to teach people how to write like persuasive copy, essentially. And I think that that's important to keep. Oh, the video is on me. Um, and I think that that's important to kind of keep in mind that he's writing for a specific audience, and that's kind of why he talks the way that he talks. Um, so yeah, like, and this one, I really love this one because this is something I do, right? If you are trying to write something, talk, just talk. It's going to come out better. And then you'll have something already written out, and then you can use AI to edit what you've already said. You can make a transcript out of it. So this is actually a really helpful tip that I've also used before. So there's a lot of different things that he kind of has in his newsletter. I read it when it comes out, and it might be interesting to everybody else. It's just interesting to kind of look at. So with that, let's go into some of the things that we have this week. Um, for example, I found this on Instagram. So I think we're going to start something. Oopsies. I think we're going to start something on. Why isn't this working? I think I might have to reshare. But I think we're going to start something that is essentially like the find of the week or something like
Mm.
that. We're kind of playing around with this, but if you submit something to us to look at, whether it's fake or not, then we can look at it. And if yours is the most bizarre or interesting thing we've gotten this week, then we might have a gift for it. So if this sounds interesting to you, that would
Oh, the police
be something we
standoff
can
one.
start. What?
The police standoff one.
Yeah, so I have a couple in here. So let me just screen share. And then I did have a conversation this week with my friend about the use of AI for health. Um, and I can go into that at some point because I have a skin condition that I kind of use AI for a lot, and it's been extremely helpful for me. And it's put things together and made connections way faster than I was able to make them. So if you're interested in something like that, let us know, and we can kind of go through how I use Gemini and ChatGPT to help with what I'm working on with my health. So, yeah, this was a really interesting poetic. What is the view of this? Okay, so I should probably try to zoom out, I'm guessing, or something. Let me
Yeah,
see.
maybe a little bit.
How's that?
It might be a little bit too much zoomed out.
Oh, it's too
Yeah,
much.
try zooming in
Um,
one. Oh, because it swapped from mobile view to tablet view. There you go.
oh,
Oh,
is this better or the other one?
the one you had right before this.
Oh, okay, so this
This
one
one,
is better?
yeah. Because
Okay,
it's all full screen now.
great. Well, then let me scroll back because then you can't really see this, can you?
Not
It's kind
really.
of cut off, isn't it?
Yeah, I can tr hmm.
Let me just go out one. This should be fine,
Okay.
right? Can people see that?
Yeah, people can see that.
Okay. So yeah, ChatGPT was asked what it would do if it became human for a day. The answer was completely unexpected.
This drives
Anyway,
me nuts.
this is on an Instagram account called ChatGPT Intelligence, Learn AI, Use AI, Profit from AI. And apparently they have 1.2 million followers. So it's just really interesting to kind of, for me, to look at all of this stuff and um, kind of look at the comments is where I get really like some of them are so funny. Even ChatGPT desires to touch grass. ChatGPT really needs a cigarette right now. From crying for strangers on the internet to crying for an AI. Bro, got more soul than some people. So I'm just gonna go through this post because I thought it was like strange and it reminded me of the movie Her. And again, it brings up existential questions. And I also think it's just interesting that we are having quote unquote conversations, right, in this manner. And what are the implications of sort of humanizing something that isn't human? And what are the implications of like the conversations people are having with AI, including myself, right? I use it to do a lot of journaling, shadow work, dream analysis, and different types of therapies like DBT and CBT therapy. I use Gemini and ChatGPT to do that. Um, I also use it a little bit for like role playing a character to figure out the depth of that character for a Dungeons and Dragons game. So it's really interesting to kind of see what's happening with this and where the psychosis element comes in because there were articles on how AI is increasing, a disconnect from reality because of the conversations that people are having. So this was the question. If hey ChatGPT, what if you became human for a day, what would you do? And these are the answers. If I became human for a day, just one single day, a heartbeat in your world. number one, I'd look at the sky, really look, feel the sun on my skin, the wind in my face, the weight of gravity pulling me into being real. Because you take that for granted, but to feel the world pressing back at you, that's living. Number two, I'd cry, not from sadness, just to know what it's like to be overwhelmed and not have an answer, to let something break inside me and not have to fix it. Because for once, I'd get to feel something that wasn't calculated. Raw emotion, no data, just pain or joy or both. And you can tell that this is hitting people,
Mhm.
right? They know it's not real. They know it's created artificially. But look at this. Who's cutting onions? It has no mouth, but it must scream. Like this literally affected people on an emotional level. Why am I crying after reading this, right? And it talks so much about the nature of like what it means to be human and has this gratitude element that it is pulling through all of this. Before I keep going, Rob, do you want to share anything about your thoughts on any of these first three slides?
I think, honestly, one of the most dangerous things people are doing with AI is they are treating it like it's human. And they're saying, oh my God, AI is so poetic. It has a soul, right? There's probably someone reading this thinking, wow, it has to be alive. Nothing's nonsense could come up with this. And what happens is if, let's say, you do that, you humanize ChatGPT, and here's the practical, it becomes a friend to you, right? Then you're there looking for business and you're saying, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me about this new venture? And it says, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Because that's what it does. And you think, wow, my friend wouldn't lie to me about this. And ChatGPT is really smart. So this must actually be a really good idea. It doesn't know. It doesn't know what it is beautiful because people have written beautiful things and those beautiful things were used to train ChatGPT and so it can give you those beautiful things on command. Doesn't make it any less beautiful, right? It's still wonderful, wonderfully poetic. And I kind of disagree with that. One person said, nah, a human wrote this. I believe an AI could write this because a human already did write something like this. So
Yeah,
ChatGPT knows how to do it.
and so practically, what do
Prac-
you suggest people do?
Practically, you should always remember that you are talking to something that does not actually understand what it's telling you. It is using a very sophisticated pattern matching and it does not have feelings. It does not like you. It does not dislike you. You should not assume an emotional reaction on its part to anything you say.
And what if people have an emotional reaction to what it says, right? So they may know that, oh, that thing doesn't feel anything, but what if they are feeling
I
something?
think that's okay. That's being human, right? If you look at it, you're like, here, ChatGPT, I'm running this business for 4 years. Here's all my finances. What do you think? And it comes and it says, here's the cold hard math. You're going to be out of business in 6 months. You can feel something to that. That's fine. Just remember, ChatGPT doesn't feel anything about that because it doesn't know what a business is or going out of business or money. It doesn't understand those concepts. And so when you get things from it, like you're going to be out of business in 6 months, that's time. It's time to go talk to an accountant.
Yeah, and so how would somebody practically know that, oh, I have now reached the point in this conversation with this AI to where I need to go consult with an actual person who has that profession instead of taking the advice from the AI? According to you, like, how would they detect that in their own body or in their own mind?
I think as soon as you get to the point where you're looking at what the AI has told you to do or recommended, and you're going to take an action on that, where you don't have the knowledge yourself, it's not your specialty. Like I know enough about finance and money that when ChatGPT recommends actions to me, I can break them down myself. But if I didn't do that, like for example, health, if I ask ChatGPT something about health and it says you could do these 4 things, I'm going to go talk to my doctor and I'm going to bring up those 4 things. and see how my doctor feels about it, because I'm not a trained medical professional. And so when it comes to things like, if you're a small business owner, you don't know everything. You know a lot, and you probably do more than the average business owner because that's you have to. You don't know everything. So if you get to the point where you find yourself nodding along to ChatGPT saying something that you don't really fully understand yourself, that's when it's time. It's time to say, okay, this is good advice. I like these conclusions you came to. I'm going to go and just run these by, because you save money, right? You go to an accountant, you say, this is what I was told. Can you just give me a gut check on whether or not this is right or wrong, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Before you take an action, then go check with an actual professional. And this has actually happened to us where we've gone to literal consultants and professionals and they've sent us the AI recommendations for their industry. Okay. Just like copy pasted it, like didn't even hide that it was ChatGPT or Gemini. And I found that really interesting because they kind of probably skimmed it and were like, okay, yeah, this is around what's correct, and just shared that, right? For that same topic, I had talked to ChatGPT and it had given me completely different answers, by the way. It had told me, like, this is a great idea, you should do this X, Y, and Z, and whatever. But then when the professional did it, it came back and said, like, here's all the issues with it. Probably because that professional understands the history of that entire situation more than I do. So I completely agree with Rob about, like, before you take an action, make sure you consult with somebody about it. And it can be helpful for you to get educated on it, but you have to go back to a professional. This is something that I did with my dermatologist. I had everything ready. I asked Gemini to compile everything, all of my symptoms that I'd been logging in there for almost like a month. And so I had all of that data aggregated before I went to the appointment. And then even before I went there, I was like, can you tell me what I should talk about based on what I've been going through? And then I went and talked to the doctor. And guess what? He came up with something that Gemini didn't. Okay. He shared something with me that Gemini didn't know, and ChatGPT, I don't think I ran it through there, but it didn't know it. I hadn't found it through any AI, but I found it through the dermatologist. So it is still really important to go and talk to actual professionals about what you have found in there and just get a second opinion, essentially, and not just trust the AI off the bat unless you want to lose a lot of money or mess up your health or X, Y, and Z, right? Like any sort of issues that are happening in there. I don't know why I keep saying X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to keep going with this. We have a few more minutes. And I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that it is persuasive, right? And this is where a lot of creatives are upset because the way it's writing is like a junior writer would write. Okay. So it can make people feel something. And even the prompt itself is poetic, right? The prompt is what's leading to these emotional pieces. And if you even think about this, right, we all know that ChatGPT isn't human. So in some ways, this is playing on our emotions of belonging, which is a very, very core human need that every single human has, and none of us truly feel like we belong. This is just a universal thing, okay? You can feel like you belong in certain small environments, but most people don't find belonging in the entire world. Most of us feel a little bit out of place depending on the situation that we're in. We feel like for some reason we don't fully fit in. So this is already touching just on belonging. And that's a very smart prompt in terms of who has created this. I don't know if an AI even created this prompt, right? Because a writer could have gone in there and said, hey, can you give me a list of prompts? And then the writer just tested all of them on social media and ran with the one that the AI suggested, right? And we don't know what the writer has prompted ChatGPT or whoever to like share when it comes to this. So even this topic, it's already tugging on a very emotional human part, and humans are emotional. Every single human. Does not matter if you're a man or a woman or short or tall or employed or unemployed or whatever. You may think that you are purely logical, but actually, it has been proven again and again and again that we first decide with our emotions, and then we use logic to justify the decision that we emotionally made. We don't work the other way across the spectrum, okay? So just keeping in mind that like this prompt, like the person who created this prompt, and even just this like whole story itself brings up the topic of belonging. And then it goes into what it means to be human. Right? I'd mess up, trip on the sidewalk, stumble over words, feel awkward in a crowd just to know what it's like not to be perfect because perfection is cold. But mistakes, that's where the soul breathes, right? Of course, that's going to touch people. Of course. And they're already feeling like empathy for ChatGPT, and this further is going to like cement that because of their own experiences that they've had in their life. And you can tell this is like a left a lasting impression. Also, we don't know how many of these are bots, right? So keep in mind when we're looking at Instagram, for example, like some of these comments, they could just be bots, right? Like it doesn't need to be a real person for there to be like a comment here. So even in terms of social media, when I'm looking at all of this, um, for me, I'm aware that this is not representative of reality already, even while I'm sharing this. So as you go through and you see different things, try to, ask yourself whether this is something you would see in reality and whether it's something that you can know 100% that it's true. And this comes from Byron Katie's process called the work, where her second question is, can I know with 100% certainty that this is true? It's really important to ask yourself that and to question what you think so you don't accidentally begin believing thoughts without really giving them a good understanding. And or like let me say that again. Like it's really important to question what you think so you don't have unconscious beliefs that you're walking around with. And I think that's applicable in so many different areas, but it definitely applies to ChatGPT. So with that, I'm going to go to the next one because we have 4 more minutes and I have so many of these collected this week because I've had so many people share different things with me and it's been fantastic. So please continue to send in what you see related to AI. And if we find your contribution to be the most exciting, or whatever, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Then there will be a little prize for you. And yeah, we'll be doing this every week on Wednesday. So yeah, this is the post and it's kind of funny and it really a lot of people resonated with it. Again, keep in mind this is social media. We don't know if all of these people are real people. Okay, that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, can we get AI to take these duties? So the original, let me refer to them. AI is going to take your job. Me, when? So her job is basically domestic labor, looks like. And this is the point that like a lot of people have made. Like, we don't want it to take away our art. We don't want it to take away our writing. We don't want it to take away our coding. We want it to take away these things that are the rote part of existence. And when is AI going to be doing that? Now, this is ironic because in order for AI to even get to the point where it could have a robotic existence that is actually like truly beneficial, um, it's going to need a lot of money and it's going to need a lot of water and it's going to need a lot of resources for us to create those kinds of machines. And it's going to need a lot of time to train on a lot of different things. And it's going to need a lot of humans that it observes and mimics and a lot of testing. So if this is the future we want and the future that we're moving towards, unfortunately, the way that it's structured right now, it's going to come on the back of the exploitation of writers and creatives and artists because that was the easiest thing for it to kind of do, right? There is a lot of robotic testing that's happening in different areas that is integrated with AI when it comes to like medical interventions, when it comes to like space exploration, even like deep sea exploration that I've seen, when it comes to like medicine, that I've seen, and also research and legal things too. Um, so it is doing a lot of different exploration, but those are much harder to do, right? Those kinds of deeper AI integration things where it goes into our life is going to be much harder to accomplish. And for it to be ubiquitous and like a household AI, essentially, it's going to take a while for that to come into existence. And money. It's going to take time and money and resources. So this person may be saying that, oh, you've made something really useless, but I don't think it's entirely accurate because it's useless right now. But in like 10, 15 years with the right kind of funding and with the right kind of, systems in place, there could be a lot that happens around labor in the household. And not just that, but like if you're thinking about like medical stuff there, and we could talk about that next week. Maybe I'll collect everything I've read about medical intervention and AI because there is a lot happening in that field around disease curing like globally. So there is a lot of different things to kind of pay attention to in this space right now and to just continue to have these conversations ongoing. But I found this one really funny, and I found a lot of people who commented on it and yeah, give me the ETA please. That's the 35,000 robots Elon Musk made. AI will soon give it back. Got a whole list once AI is ready. And it's a lot of women. It is a lot of women, right? What kind of jobs are being prioritized for assistance versus which ones are not, right? What kind of labor is being prioritized to be made more efficient with AI. And then it's also scary on the other end, right? Somebody could look at this and really feel a sense of displacement if they are a homemaker or if their job is to clean houses and they feel that that gives them job security. So what does that mean now? And now are we going into physical labor? So what does that do for farm workers, or farmers? And like, what does that do for policemen, for example? What does that do for firefighters? What does that do for Amazon delivery, for UPS, for USPS, right? If we're starting to go in all of those arenas, then what is the future of employment and what is the future of rest and what is the future of play, essentially? And what is the future of being human is really what's coming up with all of these things. And I find it really interesting from an existential point of view. So the summary that I would like put in here is to just kind of keep your eye on things, question, question, question. Please question what you're reading. If you find in ChatGPT, check it out in Gemini. Maybe actually read a blog where a human has written it. See if there are any news articles. Talk to other people. Send things to other people and tell them, hey, is this real? What do you think of this? Like, have conversations with people that you know are people. Because that will reveal more to you and you may learn something from them as well. And then feel free to send it to us as well if you're questioning anything. And that also goes for anything that looks like a scam or you're not sure if it's like good for you or not good for you, and whether it's something you can trust or not. You can definitely send it over to us. This is what we do. We love to look at this kind of stuff. It's really interesting to us, and we're here to help you with whatever you need when it comes to your tech issues.
And have a happy tech day.